Hello, I'm Rob Rue with Littleton and Rue Funeral Home. On behalf of the family, I want to thank you for showing your support online today. We understand that these are very difficult times, and we want family and friends to witness this celebration of life within their individual comfort zones. This live stream will remain available on our Facebook page and can be freely shared with anyone. Thank you for showing support, and feel free to make comments below to the family. You may also visit littletonandrue.com to leave expressions of sympathy and view the memorial video. Remember, your presence is important, whether it's here at the service or online. Thank you for showing compassion to the family today.
his Savior, and also his wedding of his son and daughter Chuck and Terry Allen as pastors to you, April 20th. He, as well as you as a family, have been very kind to me. And I'm very honored to be here today as we reflect on his life. You know, I believe that God expects us to be more than mere ordinary in this life. In fact, I believe the Bible teaches that God desires his people to live extraordinary lives of passion. To share that obituary together with you small business. It simply means this. Larry Wilson, 82 Springfield, passed peacefully at his home with his beloved wife and little partner and best friend, Margaret, beside him. He was born in Springfield, Ohio, on October the 20th, 1938, the son of Charles and Jean Rose. He was born again into eternal life this Timothy 4, I've fought the good fight. I've finished the race and I've kept the faith. Now there is in store for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous referee, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but to all who've longed for his appearing. Larry had a passion for officiating high school football for 50 years. He enjoyed golfing and working in his garage on various crafts and projects. But he enjoyed most, since Friday, June the 7th of 1957, spending time with his wife of 63 years, going out to eat, traveling to their favorite spot, which was Gatlinburg. His grandchildren will forever be grateful for the summers spent at his home. Larry truly believed Mickey Mouse ruled the world. He's survived by his wife, Marjorie E. Grimm, 2 daughters, Jenny and Jason Stevens, Linda and Brian Southerly. Grandchildren, Kimberly and Cody Lewis, Megan and Brooke Stevens, and Casey and Brad Pernhagen, Ashley and Brad Collins, and Elena and Brandon Norbeck. 9 great-grandchildren, a brother who is here today, Roger and Gloria Allen, several nieces and nephews, and Larry is preceded in death by 2 children, Terry Kimberly Allen and John Charles or Chuck Allen. When I ask you to give me words to describe your husband, your father, grandfather, the words that you chose beyond that obituary were so revealing. You said Larry was knowledgeable, loving, a good father. He was faithful, supportive, honest to a fault, constructive in criticism, and tough love and giving. There's one unique thread that runs through every one of those words. They reveal the heart of a man who lived his life for you. You see, they're other-centered, sharing, giving words. And it is a tribute that honors him and his Creator today. Jesus himself said in John 15:13 that greater love has no man than this, that he lays down his life for his friends. And though I don't know the exact moment that a little altar boy accepted Jesus Christ as his personal Lord and Savior, I know that with new ears Larry has heard his Savior say, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. One of my favorite passages in Proverbs is just the verse, Proverbs 11:25. It says, a generous person will prosper, and one who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. And so at this time, I want to invite Larry's granddaughter and my friend Brooke Stevens to come and to begin the family's time of sharing ways that Larry has been equally generous and refreshing. After Brooke speaks, Kimberly Lewis will share, and then Jenny herself and Jason. And if anybody in the family wants to speak, this is your time to share. After my message, I'll invite anyone that would like to share memories or something with the family to come. But for now, I'm going to ask Brooke if she would come and share.
On behalf of my family, I would like to say thank you to everyone who is here today and those who have sent their condolences. We have received countless texts, phone calls, visits, and prayers. They have left such an impact on Grandpa and our family. It is such a blessing to see how many lives my grandpa has touched. My name is Brooke. I'm Larry's youngest granddaughter and the youngest child of Jay and Jason. As you can imagine, Grandpa was the best grandpa, father, and husband anybody could ask for. Grandpa has taught me and my sister so many life lessons and was always there for every sports game and school's event, no matter what. Most importantly, Grandpa's love for his family was unconditional. While growing up, my grandma and grandpa showed me true love does exist. Their love for each other was endless. At the time of Grandpa's passing, Grandpa gave my grandma 3 kisses. Every time I would spend the night with my grandparents when I was little, I slept in their bed because I was a scaredy cat. My grandma and grandpa exchanged 3 kisses every night before bed. My grandpa made sure the last thing he did was give my grandma a goodbye kiss. During the time my grandpa was fighting for his life, he showed that he was the strongest person I have ever met. Grandpa fought until he couldn't fight anymore. Grandpa showed us all how much of a fighter he was. Grandpa was also the goofiest and most stubborn person I have ever met. He always had a witty comeback for almost every conversation you had. Something he definitely passed on to his family. As most of you know, we called Grandpa the Grinch. And every Christmas, Grandpa would wear his Grinch pajamas, knowing that he would put a smile on everyone's faces. Grandpa never failed to make light of every situation. Grandpa, we know you are looking down on all of us, and we know you are right beside your daughter and son and the rest of our family. Grandpa, you will be missed each and every day, but your spirit lives through all of our hearts. Goodbye for now. I will see you again someday.
It's really bright. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming to celebrate my grandpa's life with all of us. I just wanted to share a couple of my favorite memories with my grandpa through the years. My grandpa used to take each of us girls for a couple of days throughout the summer. They let us pick a day to go shopping, a day where to go for dinner, and a night that Grandma would make whatever we wanted. On the nights where Grandma would make whatever the requested meal was, after we finished eating, Grandpa introduced me to Abbott and Costello movies. If you don't know what that is, I strongly suggest you watch it. It's hilarious. Frankenstein was our favorite. After my introduction to that movie, that became our tradition to watch during my summer stay. Grandpa was a guy that did not tell you that he loved you every day. He showed you how much he loved you. And you just knew that he did without him saying, I love you. I was in the 8th grade when my grandpa took a picture of me cheerleading in my uniform at a basketball game. I was doing a toe touch. Grandpa told me how high and how great my jump was, but followed up with, you need to do a better job at pointing your toes. Later on, my grandpa showed up with ankle weights for me to start jumping with to work on pointing my toes. If you truly knew my grandpa, you know you do everything with your full 100%. Nothing less. You are to never be lazy. My grandpa retired from being a referee when I was in middle school, and I remember just being so upset that I wasn't going to be able to have him referee at any of my high school games. I always wanted to be able to say my grandpa was going out there refereeing. At one of my games, my grandma came walking up the bleachers without him. And I asked her where he was. She told me to turn around. And there stood my grandpa and a referee, fit, ready to referee one last time for me. My whole entire life, my grandma and grandpa came to every single sporting event. I honestly can't think of anything that they've missed. My junior year of high school at Thanksgiving, he told all of us that he had prostate cancer, but he was okay. He went to every treatment he needed and never told any of his family. If I ever had any small sort of question of how much he loved his family, that day I knew how much he loved and cared for all of us. My grandparents still continue to be at every game, home, away, blazing heat, freezing cold, rain, and snow. They never left until the game was over. After my grandpa's heart surgery, he became more of a person to express his love to his family. Grandma and I became even more closer as he leaned into all of us for comfort. That was the first time any of us had actually seen him sick and scared. My mornings before work, I would be at the hospital to order his breakfast, set him up, eat. After work, I would hit the hospital, order his dinner, and set him up for dinner. After dinner, he always wanted me to shave him. Grandpa got to the point that even at the end, nobody was allowed to shave him but me. He always loved that moment and shared with me how much we meant to him. For Christmas in 2016, I wrote my grandpa a letter asking him if he would walk me down the aisle on my wedding day with my dad to give me away. My grandpa has been such an important role model for my adolescent years into my adult life that I just felt like sharing a special moment with the two most important men in my life was important to me, and I'm just so thankful to have that precious memory. When I told my grandpa I was pregnant, he didn't show too much emotion, which I was not surprised about. He wasn't a man to get excited over things like that. As my belly began to grow and show that a baby was growing in there, I would be at my parents' house and he would say, "How was my girl doing?" asking about myself. After I replied, he would follow up with, "Well, what about my other girl?" He started to be so excited about my daughter, and that just wasn't something I was used to. He started to get really sick right before I wanted to give birth, and I just prayed, "God, please don't take him yet. Please let him meet Bristol first." When I had Bristol, he was in the nursing home, getting ready to come home, and I was so eager for him to meet her. Grandpa wasn't a man that loved to hold newborns. Actually, I had never really seen him hold a baby before in my life without us forcing him to hold one. He loved the toddler stage more than anything. While I was on maternity leave, I went over to my parents, ready for him to meet Bristol. He came walking out and instantly tears started to flow down his face. When he saw me, he smiled and gave me the biggest hug and said, "How are you doing, Mama?" Sat down in his chair and instantly said, "Let me hold this baby." Bristol put such a big smile on his face in the last 7 months, and I am just so grateful, thankful, and blessed that God allowed me to share these special moments with my grandpa. Most people are not fortunate enough to have their grandparents as long as I have, and be able to watch them become great grandparents like I have. I know that I'm biased when I say that I have the best grandpa, and I know that I did. Part of the reason I am who I am today is because of him. He made my mom who she is today, and without him showing the tough love that he did, he wouldn't have shown us the true definition of love. I love you so much, Grandpa, and please continue to watch over all of us. And the other day I was on my phone listening to old voicemails. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get everybody to hear this, but my aunt Carolyn and my grandma, they always would go on their shopping adventures and they'd be gone for hours. But if Grandma wasn't back home by a certain time, he would call us. "Have you heard from Mom? Have you heard from her?" And he'd be so concerned. Sometimes Mom and I would get in the car and trace down their stuff. They were always fine, but they would just take forever shopping. And there's a voicemail that he left. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the right one, but it's just so cute and funny. I just wanted to share it. I don't know if it's going to work though. Playing. Oh, that's Grandma. Hold on. Oh goodness, where did it go? It's on here somewhere.
She's home, she escaped. They took the gun away from him and then made it back. Thanks for calling, Kimberly.
But that just shows that to me is just, he wasn't a person to call you. But I'm just so thankful that I have that voicemail because it brings a smile to me every day. And I have that to listen to. Anyways, thanks everybody for showing up. It means so much to my family and I.
So I'd like to wish everybody a good afternoon and thank each and every one of you for being here today. It's obviously, my dad has been a part of your life as he has mine. It's hard for me to believe this is a celebration right now. It'll come one day, but right now this is the hardest thing I've done. I've dreaded this day for so long, but now I'm here with the rest of my family who are suffering through this too. I just want to share, Kimberly kind of touched on it, a little bit about when my dad had prostate cancer. I probably had RSD for 2 years, and my mom and dad insisted that they would take me to my doctor's appointments and pick up my checks at Honda and things like that. So beyond taking me to my doctor's appointments, I never thought about it when my mom would call and say, do you know when all your appointments are for this month? Because that's just who mom and dad are. They were organized, and they were scheduled, and they were never late. So anyway, he would pick me up too many times that I thought I was never going to make it back home because we were right in the butt of another car. And somehow Mom and I could laugh about it, but now I know why she always wanted me to be in the front seat so I could see what was coming at me. But he always made sure he was there. Always. No matter what. Kimberly was probably a junior at this time. And he never missed a football game, as she said. Home, away, rain, or shine. He was always there. That year at Thanksgiving, my dad pulled us aside, me and Jason, and my mom come in the bedroom, and he looked at us and he said, okay, so Dad had prostate cancer, but I'm okay. I wasn't sobbing, but tears just rolled down my face, and I couldn't stop it. Part of me was a little angry that he didn't tell us and that my mom had to go by herself with him. But that's who they were. They didn't want us to suffer. They took every hit for all of us. And this was no exception. But this time, I knew what my father had done. He made it to every appointment that I had. He scheduled everything around me, not himself, me. I'm sorry. So my mom kind of looked at me and said, everything's all right, Jenny. It's all okay. Dad is okay. He had went to Dayton, had 5 procedures done with the CyberKnife, and he truly was cancer-free. But the tears couldn't stop because I saw him sitting in the rain, watching his granddaughter. I saw him driving me to Columbus. I know what a parent's love is because I have my own daughters. And I hope one day they can say this about me too. I I am so proud to be Larry Wilson Allen's daughter. As my children are so proud to be his grandchildren. And my mom is so proud to be his wife. And that's kind of the next thing I want to touch on. I know behind every good man is a good woman. And my dad had that. I have heard for the last 9 months of my dad being in and out of the hospital where we couldn't go see him, in and out of the nursing home for rehab. Is Mom okay? Is Mom okay? My dad needed to know that. He needed to hear it. He needed to trust those words that we were taking care of her. And I promised him, it won't stop now. And that's why he could die that day. His ducks were in a row. He knew Jason was going to take care of things. He knew we would take care of my mom. And I just want to share, it's a song, but I'm just going to read the words of what my dad felt about my mother. Lady, I'm your knight in shining armor, and I love you. You have made me what I am, and I am yours. My love, there's so many ways I want to say I love you. Let me hold you in my arms forevermore. You have gone and made me such a fool. I am so lost in your love. We belong together. Won't you believe in my song? Lady, for so many years I thought I'd never find you. You have come into my life and made me whole. Forever, let me wait to see you each and every morning. Let me hear you whisper softly in my ear. In my eyes, I see no one else but you. There is no other love like our love. And yes, oh yes, I always want you near me. And I've waited for you for so long. Lady, your love's the only love I need, and beside me is where I want you to be. 'Cause my love, there's something I want you to know. You're the love of my life. You're my lady. There is no other words that describe my mom and dad's marriage of almost 64 years than this song. I asked Dad probably 20 minutes, didn't ask, told my father 20 minutes before he died to run to Jesus. It was the hardest thing I ever said. Run to Jesus, Dad, because he's gonna hold you now and you can run and breathe. And my sister and my brother are right there, grab them. I went to bed because I knew the next step. His lady lay beside him and helped him go to heaven. I have truly never seen a love story like this, and I never really thought of it like that until my cousin told me when she came into our family that she always looked at my mom and dad as a love story. There's no other way to put it. And I am so proud that I came out of that love story. Mom, I know how much my dad truly, truly loved you. And I don't want you to ever forget. And we will honor everything that man has said. I love you, Mom. You helped make Dad the man he wants to. Thank you.
Would anyone else in the family like to speak? Please. I'm sorry, me and Steps don't get along very well, so I'm Larry's brother. I'm his little brother. Larry was 3.5 years older than me. So that made me his little brother. And what does little brothers do for big brothers? They become a pain in their butt. Everything Larry did, I wanted to do. I wanted to be with my brother all the time. Didn't matter what it was. When Larry was about 11, he got a paper route. Well, I wanted to help him with his paper route. So I learned his route. So then Larry decided a few times, well, I want to deliver papers. That was great. I delivered his papers for him. I loved it because I did. I wanted to do everything. Larry joined the Boy Scouts. I was probably 8, 9, somewhere in there. Larry did not want me to go to the Boy Scouts with him and his friends. One Monday night, because Boy Scout meetings was on Monday night, his one friend always come to our house, and the three of us would go together. His friend got there, and it was about 4:30, and he left about 4:45 to go to Boy Scout meeting. Larry says, come on, let's go out in the backyard and play. So we went out in the backyard and played. Go play Cowboys and Indians. I was the Indian. They had ropes, they lassoed me. Then they tied me to a tree and told me, bye, we're going to Boy Scouts. Now, my mom had something to do that night. She usually got home around 5, but she didn't. My dad always got home around 7. So I am tied to that tree till my dad comes home. Now, where our garage was, he could either go to the front door or he could go to the back door. And most of the time, he went to the front door. This time, thank heavens, he went to the back door. Or I still may be tied to that tree. When I turned 11, we moved to Donaldson. And so I would have been 11, Larry would have been 14, 15, in there. In 1955, my dad bought a brand new Buick, oh man, I can't remember what it was, but it was a coupe. It was black and white, and it was fast. And when he got his driver's license and he started driving, we knew the local highway patrolman around there. And Larry got his license and everything, and I'm with Larry, always wanted to be with Larry. And we see this highway patrolman is in this little gas station that we always went around. And Larry went in there, looked at him, I don't remember his name, and said, hey, let's drag race. And he looked at Larry and said, okay, if I catch you, you're getting a ticket, I'm taking you to jail. So everybody laughed it off. I'm going to say 7, 8 months later, this highway patrolman was a good friend of my dad's. He come up to my dad and said, I couldn't catch it, but I was coming west out of Springfield on the Upper Valley Pike. That black and white Buick was going eastbound, and it passed me so fast, I turned around
but I couldn't catch him. I lost him when he got to Springfield. But he says, I know that was your car because there's not another one around here. Larry, and I've heard this word so many times, Larry was my hero. Larry was good at everything he did. He became all-county football, all-county baseball. I couldn't throw the ball, let alone catch it if somebody threw it to me. So he was my hero, and he's always been my hero. We kind of fell apart, life took us apart, but I never, ever stopped loving him and him being my hero. The last time I saw Larry and had a conversation with him was in 2015. Our mother had passed away, and she wanted to be cremated, but she wanted me to bring ashes back and bury him with our dad. So I did. I believe Larry was just getting over heart surgery, if I remember right. And this is weird. I had our heart bypass in 12. Larry had prostate cancer. I had it, didn't find it till late 2015. But anyway, I went to Larry's house before the service. He told me he couldn't go, it was the next day. But I got to spend about 3 hours with him. My friend Raymond went with me. Margie had went out to the store and she hadn't come back yet. When my mom died in 2000, Ralph, her husband, passed away and was in Florida. And I called her up and I said, what do you want to do? I'll move you back to Ohio, or you can come to Texas to live with us. She says, I want to come to Texas. I'm getting to the point, please bear with me. Anyway, during that conversation before Margie got there, Larry looked at me and he says, I'm so glad you took Mom to Texas because I knew I wouldn't have to worry about her. I knew you would take care of her. And it was the best words my brother ever said to me. I want to do like everybody else. Thank you for being here. Margie, I love you so much. And I hope you know that. Thank you all.
Anyone else who would like to share?
I think I can speak loud enough without going up there. I don't know if I can make it back down the steps. I'm a nephew to Larry, and I got a few stories to tell. The first one started in the late 1960s. Larry came up with some bamboo poles for us and a couple of our cousins. And you know, what are you going to do with a bamboo pole? Well, we started jumping across small bushes and trees, and I even made the mistake a few times of trying to jump the fence about out back and then the barbed wire across the top. That wasn't one of my better ideas. But we ended up building a pole bowling pit in my backyard. So Roger, Pete, and Joe, my uncle, would come over and pole bowl. We actually had one of our track meets. Roger and Joe and I placed first, second, and third in a track meet in high school one time, so that was pretty cool. And, you know, only Larry could come up with bamboo poles big enough and long enough to pole with. The next story involved a cousin of mine, Pete, and my wife Carolyn and her sister Nancy. Pete and I were going to go on a double date with them, and we wanted to show these girls a good time. So we decided we were going to go to Margie and Larry's and toilet paper their backyard. So there wasn't much thought. We jumped into the car, got as much toilet paper as what we could. We went to Margie and Larry's house. Of course, we couldn't park in the front yard. They wouldn't know who this was. So we decided to park in the driveway next door. It was an older couple. You know, of course, older couples, they don't get out and go at night. You know, they stay home, and they don't have friends that come and visit at night. So that's a perfect place to park. So we parked the car there and got out of the car, took all the toilet paper with us, and we had a heyday in the backyard, the tree line, had a big long tree line, and we toilet papered the heck out of their backyard. And while we were toilet papering, the couple that was visiting, the old couple that lived right next door, wanted to leave. So they tried to leave, and of course there's a 70 Nova blocking the driveway, so they couldn't get out. So they called the police. So I'm sitting in the back of the police car, deciding maybe that wasn't the best place to park. So the police decided what they were going to do is us four were going to go up to the front door, knock on the door, and tell Margie and Larry what we did. And of course, Larry opened the door. Thank goodness he had pity on us, so he didn't. He said yes, he knew us. And later on, he said if he'd have thought about it, he said no, I don't know them kids taken to jail. But he didn't do that, so thank God. The next story, he coached one of our church league basketball teams. We were in the Springfield League. Of course, these teams in Springfield, they were streetwise. They were good basketball players. They were fast. They were tough. And of course, Larry taught us that these kids didn't mind if you elbowed them and pushed them. You know, they did. They played rough. I mean, they played in the streets every day, so they played rough. So we did end up towards the end of the season. Finally, we won a couple games. I don't know how, but we did. But thanks to Larry's tutelage and teaching us and coaching us, we did win a few games. The last story, with Larry, at Christmas time or Thanksgiving, at the Christmas gatherings, you had to be careful, because Larry would corner you and talk about football. Because Larry loved football and he loved refereeing. He would talk to you for hours. So you had to be careful not to get trapped with him. But Larry, he always had good stories, and he had a lot of interesting things to tell us. So Larry, I just want to tell you that you are gone now, but you will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Well, if I could share a little bit with you this morning as a family, as I was thinking about Larry, I found an article that was written in Sports Illustrated about another referee named Tommy Bell back in the 70s. He was from my hometown, so it kind of stuck true with me. But the title of the article is one that brought Larry to mind, and it's my message for you today. The title was, "He Whistles While He Works." And that's fitting for a man, I think, that was a referee and a man who loved Steamboat Willie, or Mickey Mouse, excuse me. But Tommy Bell wrote in that article, he said, "If we walk off the field and nobody notices us, we've had a good game. But if somebody knows who Tommy Bell is, then chances are I did something wrong." I think that's one of the reasons that Larry was understated in some minds, but he was understood to be one of the most respected football referees in the Ohio region that we're in. He was steady, he was reliable, a perfectionist who was both unique and highly efficient. But when the game was done, he showed up in your lives and the lives of others. Whether it meant being a dependable truck driver, the neighborhood peacock wrangler, or simply dad, he had a work ethic that was second to none. And he truly was a local boy who made good. After 50 years of refereeing, his officiating at the last Springfield North game deserved a standing ovation, but I understood it ended with a nonstop rainstorm. And so today it is through your presence, your words, and tears that Larry is receiving the best standing ovation of all. I need no cardinals in the road, no lightning bolt from the blue, no television cutting off during Bill Murray's movie Stripes as a sign to assure me that our Lord and Savior's words were true. In John 14, you believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many rooms, and if it were not so, I would have told you. And I go to prepare a place for you, and if I do that, I'll come back and take you to be with me, that you may be where I am. John wrote, someday God will wipe away every tear. The hands that touch the heavens will touch your cheeks. The same hands that form the mountains will caress your face, and the same hands that curled around the agony of a Roman spike cut through it will someday cup your face and brush away your tears forever. But I like what Max Lucado wrote. He said, you may not have noticed it, but at times like this, we are closer to home than ever before. Before you know it, your appointed time of arrival will come. You too will descend the ramp and enter the city and see faces waiting for you. You'll hear your name spoken by those who love you. And then perhaps in the back behind the crowds, the one who would rather die than live without you will remove his pierced hands from his heavenly robe and applaud. Let me share with you why I think Larry's life is worth remembering with a standing ovation of applause today. And I want to use his name to do so. The L of Larry stands for lovable. Larry could see into each of your hearts. He was, as his granddaughter said, tough but tender. The Bible says you know a tree by the fruit it bears, and the love of his life was obvious for you, as was the nature of your love for him. While he may never have said the words, I love you, until his heart surgery, you had no doubt where you stood with him. Proverbs 17:6 tells us that children's children are a crown to the aged. That means Kimberly, Megan, Brooke, you were Larry's treasured crown. That same scripture also says that parents are the pride of their children. And Jenny, Larry truly is your pride and great joy. It was several years ago that U.S. News and World Report told about a little girl, only 7 or 8 years old, very small and very thin, who pulled her 180-pound father out of the pool where he had drowned, and she saved his life. They asked her, how did you do that? And she said to the reporter, it was easy. I love my daddy. Jenny, you're not 7. You're not 8. But I know that everything you did for your father was because of your great love for him. It's why the one thing that he was happy to see, the one thing he wanted to see, was your fireplace, your hearth, his home. He felt love when he was with you, and with Marjorie and Jason and the kids. And when your motive is love, amazing things can happen. It can make hiding Kimberly's Christmas mousse and jelly beans like finding a trophy. It can make comments as you enter the house like, Mother, I told you to lock the back door. Sound like the most inviting, come in and make yourself at home. The love of his life for 63 years was his own Grimm's fairy tale, Marjorie Grimm. No one knew love better than you. Proverbs 26 tells us many a man will claim to have an unfailing love, but a faithful man who can find. You did. From an introduction by a mutual friend named Sally to a hastily grabbed towel when you were caught sunbathing by surprise, you literally always took his breath away. On only 17 years of age that Friday, June the 7th, when you drove to Indiana to get married. I had to smile as Megan told me about you letting her drive down long country lanes until you revealed this is where Larry and I used to park. And look up at the stars and make out. And suddenly the girls never wanted to go down that country lane ever again. There was a meager first Christmas when it broke his heart not to have the money to give you something special, but from then on, he made sure that the checks were in your hand, and to the best of his ability, he made sure that year by year, he could faithfully give. He loved Christmas. He loved spending the holidays together, and think of the many meals that you spent, not only across your table at home, but Marjorie, you and he across the table from one another at Collier's. In fact, you're one of the first couples I know where former waitresses would come to express their comfort and sorrow over Larry's passing, Cheryl and Debbie. Your marriage stock held a great value and an ever-compounding worth until the moment that you said you loved him and gave him his 3 kisses, and he entered his heavenly reward. Jenny, the one thing I didn't hear you say is something you've said to me many times that you said to your father. Thank you for loving my mom the way you did. Everything he did to make you better. That's why Megan, you became so faithful to care for Larry. You said, I started this, and even though it was hard, I'm going to see it through, and I'm going to finish this, and you did. Josiah and Nyla knew their papa's love, and little Bristol brought him great joy and captured his heart in a special way. He loved because he was lovable. Even the cat Dolly that curled up beneath his feet and at his legs. Many could give testimony as how he shared in your life through his giving spirit. He was a refreshing man. And because of that, because he was lovable, it deserves a standing ovation. The A of his name stands for active. As he told you, he wanted to live. You watched him do an average blue-collar job day after day with the passion of everything he had, knowing he could do and be so much more. Even as a boy, as you saw in the newspaper on the back table, he was put in the paper for saying the Pledge of Allegiance and leading it at 3. As a young man, he would take dance classes with Catherine Haas, and he loved music and dancing all his life. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and did you see all the dancing? Once at a country club, he was even asked to teach a drunk man how to do his signature move, and it led to a wipeout and a great deal of laughter. Not many of you may know, but Larry's first desire was to play football when he got a scholarship to Miami University. But he hurt his back and he couldn't play football, and so he aspired to be a naval aviator. He had the mind to do it, he had the will to do it, but he couldn't pass the physical and was turned away. And so the responsibilities came of providing for a family. When his aunt and Uncle Hubie and Hazel, who owned Silver Motor Freight, offered the chance to drive for them, it may not have been his first or second choice, but it was a way to do what needed to be done and to provide for family. And Hubie would be like a father to Larry, even making that special room for him. Larry was active. He loved to golf at Snyder Park Golf Course and other places, and he had an ornery sense of humor. He loved seeing the rubber snake put into a batch of cookies or tossed into Jenny's bed on vacation just to see her hit the ceiling. And because he was actively involved in your life, you could laugh. I could see him laugh at Christmas when you gave Jean 2 pairs of dirty white Keds as a gift. It's why you teased him to the point that he would say, I'm going to kill you, Jason, but you would have also the thrill of knowing that you could take the kids to Disney World. And little Kimberly would take that message faithfully delivered to Goofy, my papa loves you. That's why you'll never forget calling him from the hotel and hearing him say to you as the Grand Marshal family, Mom, you didn't waste a dime. You see, Larry was lovable. He was active. The first R stands for a real man. Real men are authentic. They're not perfect. Real men have to step outside every now and then to take a few laps around the pool to calm down when they're mad. Even though I believe you're conservative Republicans, your family crest could easily have been a donkey because you are so stubborn as a family. A wife and a daughter who surely try your patience. Peacock poop on the roof that upset a real man. But real men forgive and are forgiven. Real men take pride in whatever they put their hands to. As Kimberly said, it's 100% or not at all. It's a character I can see in Jenny. And it's why Larry was proud, but not surprised, I'm sure, to hear that his daughter made a difference at the Honda plant, standing up for quality because my family drives these cars. Real men are honest, too, and that meant if he made a call and had to change it, that's what he did. Real men know that you show respect and you earn, not demand, you earn respect. You don't pull punches, you don't lie to people. They know whether it was Chuck or Jenny, you were his brilliant children, but there were times he'd like to turn you upside down. When it came to discipline, you knew what to expect when you crossed the line. You would get 2 licks, and then it was done. In his discipline, you felt loved, and you never wanted to disappoint him again. Jason, I've been kind to you so far. I want to say I've always known you to be a strong man. Today I can say it's a huge part of that is because of Larry. Proverbs 27:17 says, like iron sharpening iron, so one man sharpens another. Brother, you're sharp because of Larry. You weren't like a son to him, though. You were a son to him. You were there when he needed you most. You gave him insulin, you tucked him in bed, you celebrated the Ohio State Buckeyes together. You're cut from the same cloth, and that's why you got along so well together. It's why you could tease him by calling him Spock for his logic. It's why you could imitate his feet up posture and his hand on chin gesture. He would go with you to the point that you would threaten, one more comment and I'm coming across this table at you, and he would simply say, come on. You saw his fatherly love as he and Uncle Paul taught you and supervised you in repairing your porch on McCright. It's why you made some of his worst days, Jason, some of his best days. By being with him, by telling him you loved him. And now Jenny can honestly say, Jason, he's my dad. He's just like my dad, the work ethic, the brutal honesty, the love, because he was a real man. Lovable, active, a real man, and I've got to say the next R is for referee. His retirement planner, his longtime friend, John Pekarski, once aspired to be just like him. Many of his best friends, like Mr. Butts and Mr. Nash, came from the Ohio High School Athletics Association and referees. He made sure he treated everyone fairly, whether it was on the field or off. You know, one of the things I've read is that nearly every referee and every football player enters a game hurt. And somebody was once asked, you know, why do you put yourself through this? One player had hustled for 383 games, had 40 surgeries, played ball with 5 rods in his back. Nobody retires from refereeing or from playing football in one piece. And when the reporter asked him, would you do it again? He replied without hesitation, absolutely. The bottom line is, you do it because you have a passion, because you love life, and you play hurt. Or you don't play at all. Larry was a man who knew what it meant to play hurt. The Bible tells us that suffering is inevitable. Job said, mortals born of women are a few days and full of trouble, and even though he battled heart condition, clotting issues, bone infection, even though he suffered through having to pee icicles in a home full of temperate women and other illnesses, he could say he felt like he was going uphill and getting closer and closer to his Heavenly Father. You know what the Bible says? No one who puts his hand on the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God, but the one who stands firm till the end will be saved. God had only one son without sin, no son without sorrow. In Romans 8, Paul lists some of the things that can take us out of the game. Trouble, hardship, persecution, famine, nakedness, danger, or sword. And yet Paul shares the one verse we must never forget, that nothing in all of creation, nothing can separate us from the love that is ours through Christ Jesus our Lord. Well, here's the last one. It's the why of his name. It's the yearning of his life. I can't imagine how painful it must have been for Larry and Marjorie, or for you as a family, to lose Chuck and Terry. I'm sure Larry's heart yearned to see Chuck sitting down at an organ or picking up the trumpet, to hear him play Al Hirt's Bugler's Holiday without music. He was your little Maynard Ferguson or little Louis Armstrong. And if God in his great grace sees fit, he may be the one that blows the trumpet that calls us all home. But I saw it in his eyes as we prayed around the bed, as he looked peacefully up to heaven just a few days ago. It's the same thing you saw in his eyes in the washing glow of a family Christmas candlelight celebrated at home this year, or when he heard "O Holy Night." You see, you chose Isaiah 40:31 for this day, so let me add a companion verse to that from Deuteronomy chapter 32. It says, God shielded him and cared for him. He guarded him as the apple of his eye, and like an eagle that stirs its nest and hovers over its young, he spreads his wings to catch them, and he carries them on high. You see, this world is not my home. I'm just passing through. My treasure's laid up somewhere far beyond the blue. And the angels beckon me from beyond heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this old world anymore. Lord, you know I have no friend like you, and if heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me beyond heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this old world anymore. They're all expecting me, and that's the one thing I know. My Savior pardoned me, and now I onward go. Just up in glory land we'll live eternally, the saints on every hand shouting ultimate victory. Their song of sweetest praise drifts back from heaven's shore, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. You know, I can't trace the thoughts of God. Isaiah tells us as high as the heavens are above the earth, so his thoughts are higher than ours, and I certainly cannot understand God's timetable. But I can trust. I can trust in him and his promises, and I can trust in his word. Psalm 27:4 says, one thing I ask the Lord, this one thing I seek, that I can dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and seek him in his temple. For in the day of trouble, he keeps me safe in his dwelling. He hides me in the shelter of his sacred tent, and he sets me high upon a rock. Larry loved you. Marjorie, he loved you. Jenny, Jason, girls, all of you as a brother. But the relationship that matters most to the end of time and beyond is God's love for him. You know his name, Larry? It's short for the name Lawrence. It comes from the English Latin Laurentius, man of Laurentum. It refers to the aromatic evergreen laurel that was woven into wreaths and crowns and awarded to victors in athletic competitions. You see, the name of your father, the name of your grandfather, the name of your brother, the name of your husband, it literally means crowned in victory. Revelation 2:10 says, be faithful even to the point of death, and I will give you the victor's crown. I fought the fight, I finished the race, and now there is in store for me the crown that is awarded to me on that day, and not only to me, but to all that have longed for his appearing. You know, the Bible says, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love him. But there is another one this day who sees and who hears and who knows. And there's greater things to come. I'm going to ask if you would bow with me as I read the 23rd Psalm, and then we'll have a prayer. Lord is my shepherd. I'll want for nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. And even though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, for you're with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Heavenly Father, as we end our service here today, we do so acknowledging the one thing that never changes. You. You are the one and only. You deserve all glory, all honor, all praise, and all attention because, Father, you created and you can also recreate the love, the life, the great future and eternity that you have in store for Larry and for each of us. Father, it is your name that he wears in glory. It is your rest and your peace that he knows, and that's something this family desperately needs. Only you can give them a peace that passes understanding in a time that just cannot be explained, in a time that lacks understanding. Father, I thank you for a family that honors its father and mother. I thank you for a family that is grateful for life. And yes, even though this is a time difficult to call a celebration, it is a time to recognize every good and perfect gift comes down from you. So, Father, thank you for Larry, Wilson, and Al. We pray this, and we close our service here in Jesus' name. Amen. I'd like to invite you at this time, if you want to come and share final word of concern with the family, you're invited to do so. And there was a special family meal prepared for the family just in the fellowship hall in just a moment too. But you are dismissed at this time.
Could I make a comment, please? Make comments, please. I'm not a family member, but I am, more or less. I'm John Pekarsky. I'm a 40-year football official. I have carried Larry Allen for 40 of those 50 years. But we had so much fun together. But I want to maybe let you see the other side of Larry. When I started officiating 40 years ago, we didn't have organized rule meetings and philosophies and all these books and manuals and training tapes. We had referees that would talk at the meetings about what a rule is and what the philosophy of the game is. And at this time, when I decided to become a football official, I was a sergeant in the police division. When I went into that first meeting, I had been to family fights, gun fights, bar fights. I was not ready for the first meeting of football officials. It was disorganized madness, but the people that ran it and the ones that taught younger officials, and to put it in perspective, when you're a young official, you sit as far back in the back as you can and you keep your mouth shut. So what ends up happening is these old guys would get into discussions about, well, at this game Friday night we had this, and next things would start happening. Well, we had Larry Allen was a referee, Don Rinker was a referee, Johnny Martin was a referee, Earl Fritz was a referee, Tom Tosi was a referee. Now, Earl Fritz said something, and Johnny Martin felt different. Well, they'd start discussing this thing. Well, then another one would turn in, and it turned into disorganized madness. And it was like this until either Don Rinker or Larry Allen stood up. If they started to make a comment, it was kind of like a hush. If football 40 years ago, 50 years ago, had named philosophers in their midst, we would have had Aristotle and Socrates, and that would have been Don Rinker and Larry Allen. You can pick whichever one was Larry. But all of us young guys were scared to death of these older guys. We wanted to work the game, we wanted to get better, we wanted to get out there on Friday nights. But it was a guy like Larry who turned around and on Saturday morning, he'd come off of working a big Friday night game and he'd come work a Saturday JV game with us. And he'd turn around and come up to somebody like me and said, well, what do you want to do today? I said, survive. He turned around and I said, I don't care what. And he said, well, why don't you referee? I said, this is my first year. He said, can't think of a better way to learn it. When you got a guy like Larry on the sideline helping you, it builds that confidence and you start getting better and better. Well, as the years went by, Larry's crew was pretty well known. All of these guys from the Southwestern Ohio group, we were kind of seen as the best group to have on your game anywhere in Southwestern Ohio. So we're going from Columbus, kind of over to maybe around Piqua and then heading south to Cincinnati. And I got lucky enough to work a season, partial season. My one son, all my sons quarterbacked at Northwestern, so I kind of spent a lot of time there. Well, my one son had his knee hurt, so he couldn't play. So Larry needed a wing official. So I thought, sure, I'm not doing anything. I'll go ahead and work with you for a Friday night. And I got out. Now, I've never worked a wing. I've been an umpire. That's the guy in the middle that everything comes at you and you just try to avoid being hurt. The nice thing about being the referee where Larry was, everybody's running away from him. So there's no real big opportunity of getting hurt. If something does turn around and go the other way, you've pretty much got a 20 or 30 yard head start on what's coming. But we walked off on the field on the first time that I worked with Larry, and he sat there and he said, we're going to Centerville. What a great place to start as a wing official. I'm on the home side, Ron Ulrich's the coach. Larry sits there and he says, now I want to tell you something. He said, don't worry too much. He said, now Ron's a screamer. I said, oh, cool, just what I need. He's going to yell. He's going to be all over you. But just remember, he's frustrated with his kids. He's just taking it out on you. Cool, just what I needed to hear. So we go through the game, and I come back up. We have a timeout about third quarter. Larry says, how you doing over there? I said, I'm doing fine. I said, he's been yelling quite a bit. What's he saying? I said, honestly, Larry, I don't know. He said, what do you mean you don't know? And I said, well, you forget. I was on the police division at that time, I'd been on about 8 years. Said that from being a firearms instructor and in the cruiser, I had about 80% hearing loss on this side. So I told him, I said, as long as he's staying on this side, I don't care what he says. I said, if you see me happen to move a little bit and put him on this side, it's about ready to happen. So, Larry thought, well, go for it. So we got out, but the thing that somebody made the comment, the minister made the comment, when you walked out on the field, the first thing you did was you meet the coaches. And it was so reassuring to work with a crew that the head coach comes up and shakes your hand and says, Larry, this is a huge game. I'm glad you guys are here. That's the kind of crew that I wanted to have. So all of us guys that were the young guys, we looked around at these old guys that are the white hats that had this reputation. That's the kind of person that we wanted to be. I wanted to be the referee like Larry Allen, only taller. As a matter of fact, a little trivia, most all of the white hats at that period of time were about like this. So I don't know how that happened, but when I became a white hat, I went to Larry and I said, I've never whiteheaded before. I said, what would you recommend? He said, well, I'm going to tell you a couple things. What's that? I said, remember, number one, the clock is your best friend. What do you mean? He said, when you wind the clock, a coach has got to coach and a player's got to play, and they got to quit talking. Good point. What's another thing? He said, nobody paid to see you. That was kind of a bubble burst, but really it made a lot of sense. So we had that kind of relationship that Larry would mentor the younger guys from when we first started to when you become a white hat to when I turned around and asked Larry, I said, hey, I've got a big game, I'm doing a Springfield game, I want you to come, I want you to watch my crew. I want you to tell me what kind of crew I have. That's what I thought of Larry. And all the way through my career as a white hat, I've retired now as a white hat, but we had a little thing that we did every game. You ever watch a football game, everybody, all 5 officials or 8 officials or 7, they all go out in the middle of the field and they huddle before the game starts. No, we're not ordering pizzas or talking about what we're going to have at lunch at halftime. What we ended up doing is we'd have the ball out and I'd turn around and everybody would put their hand on top of the ball. The umpire was holding it, we got our hand on the ball, and I turn around and say, this is basically came from Larry. Guys, I want you to remember, nobody paid to watch us tonight. The second thing is I do not want to be the leading ground gainer in tonight's game. And if you know what that means we don't have a lot of flags. Call what's obvious. If it has no impact on the game, leave it alone. And the last thing I tell the guys on my crew, let's go out and have fun. Because that's what it was about. And that's what meant so much to me as a football official with guys like Larry and the others, is being in this fraternity, which now we're kind of a co-educational fraternity. But the biggest thing was the relationship of those guys, that your brother at arms on the field, that relationship was as close as you girls were with Larry. But it meant so much to us as it does anyone else. And we lost a member of our family, and it's somebody that I've looked up to for years that I will miss. But as I told Jenny and Jason, I said, I learned 2 things. Actually, now I learned 3 things about Larry Allen that I never knew before. I didn't know he owned a tie. I also didn't ever know that he had a mustache and chin whiskers until I saw that. And the other thing I noticed right here, Larry's officiating number is 10-37-70. Mine's 12-24-78. I'd have swore when I first met Don Rinker and Larry Allen that their license number had to be lower than 100. I thought that's how old he was. And that was 40 years ago. But the other thing I also consider a blessing, 2 of my sons are football officials. My oldest son works Division I college football, so he works the MAC and the Big Ten. My middle son was doing Division III college. I was lucky enough to work through some playoff games with them, but I was more lucky that I worked a powder puff game at Northwestern with my 2 sons and Larry Allen. Larry, we had to get on him during the game. Now, powder puff games, junior and senior girls. The biggest thing was that Larry comes up, what are the rules? What are we going to do today? He said, don't let any of them get hurt. What else? I said, other than that, I don't care. Let's just have fun. We had to get on Larry and turn around and tell him, say, Larry, you need to slow down a little bit. You're outrunning the girls on the game. But like I say, he was our guy. He's our family. We shared him with Margie and the kids. But, you know, we both share the loss. But like I say, we have a guy right now that we look up to. We always will look up to. And I know that the card said, don't flag St. Peter. Don't bet on it. Thank you for sharing it with, on behalf of all of the Ohio High School football officials, thank you for letting us play with Larry on Friday night. Thank you.